Good afternoon po.
Oh, yes, sir. Tapos, pag na-upload na, sir, ilabas yung block dito. Hindi mo lagyan dito. Yes, sir.
So, good afternoon again to everyone. Welcome to our afternoon Moodle Level Up session. So, we'll just wait for people to come in. I will begin by 2:03. So, right now it's 2:01 by my watch. So, we'll just wait for 2 more minutes to allow everyone to come in po, sa ating session. Jai, gusto mo mani, Jai? Jai. Jai. Ards, paano ta? Live stream ta?
Ay, madami pa naman na sa sales. Madami na siya. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Tapos,
Right. So it's already 2:03 na po. Let us begin our afternoon session. So once again, good afternoon to everyone, especially to those first time to attend the session natin. If you're still a Moodle beginner, if you're still a Moodle beginner, we would suggest po na that you attend yung our basic drop-in session so that you'll gain some familiarity with Moodle. Because itong topics natin sa level up may for some people may feel slightly a little more complicated than usual, but nonetheless you're still welcome to attend this session, no? So at least parang you have an idea of what Moodle can actually do in terms of creating your own online courses. So to begin with, our session for this afternoon is H5P for branching scenarios. No? So you might wonder, ano ba yung branching scenarios for H5P? Kung familiar po kayo yung mga parang choose your own adventure dati ng mga libro. So parang ito yung implementation ng choose your own adventure. So it can be used to actually simulate scenarios, no, depending on how students answer a particular question. So it will branch out to certain scenarios, no. So it could be used, for example, if you want to demonstrate a certain skill, or if you want to make your lessons more adaptive, depending on students' comprehension. So what I'll show you today is just a simple implementation of a branching scenario. So to begin with, I'd like to invite you to, again, divide your screen into half. No, yung on the one side, you can put in this Google Meet na video, and then on the other side, you can have your Moodle or your Diagler window so that you could follow some of the commands or some of the things that we will do in this workshop session. So just to check parang if everyone's okay na, can you just choose yung raise hand para makita natin if everyone's already ready? Okay. All right, thank you po. Just want to see yung, if you raise your hands. Okay, so wala man tayong thumbs up dito sa Google Meet, so raise hands will do. Okay, sige po, since we have a fairly good number of participants who are ready to begin, so let's just log in again to our own Moodle, to our own Diagler site. Okay, bakit? Okay. And of course, parang let's go into our practice course. So kung meron na po tayong ginagamit dyan, kung tayo papasok, ako, dito po ako sa dating ginagamit ko. So as you can see, we've already had several samples, especially for those who have been following the H5P trainings this past 2 days. Nakagawa na po tayo ng interactive video, nakagawa tayo ng course presentation. Kaninang umaga, gumawa tayo ng interactive book. And then today, we will create what is called a branching scenario. To start off, I'll just show you a sample of what a branching scenario can look like. No? So we begin with the end in mind, at least in this case, by showing you an example of what we hope to replicate in this session. So here is a sample. I-full screen ko po siya po that you could appreciate. So this is what students will see for your branching scenario. So yung first thing here is you can customize the look. Even yung itsura nito, you can put in your own image here. You can put in a little text just to explain to students what's going to happen. No? And once they're ready, they click on Start the Course. So this is the first one that happens. No? You can put in a text, you can put in a video, you can put in an image, no? Basically outlining or giving students a brief overview of what this content is going to be all about. So in this case, what I've made is a simple branching scenario in terms of how to conduct ethnographic interviewing. No? So sample lang po ito. No? Makita natin, parang here's an explanation of what it is. And then if they click proceed, here's another information that they're asked to read, no? In preparation for what happens next. So humanani, if they click proceed, now this is where the branching scenarios come in. No? So you can pose a question where, in this case, before conducting contextual inquiry, I need to. So you're given a number of choices, which are actually steps. And what they're asked to do is to try to identify, for example, what's the next step that you need to take before you conduct this kind of inquiry. So for example, a student does not have any idea at all. no? For example, he chooses incorrectly a particular item, no? So kunyari, ang akala niya kailangan mag-schedule na kaagad ng interview. So supposing he or she clicks on this, and then we've programmed it in such a way na kung mali yung choice niya, you can redirect them to any place in your branching scenario. In this case, parang yung very simple is you ask him to restart again, no? So you can put here, parang you can give him a score, no? For choosing this scenario. So in this case, 1/10, and then you can put in your feedback here. So if a student is asked to try again, he can restart the course and basically go back na naman to the start, no? Until he gets it correctly. Now, supposing here the student is able to choose the correct answer. Now, let's choose the correct answer here. Okay. Now, as you can see, you can decide where he will be redirected if he gets the correct answer. In this case, parang I will ask the student muna to watch a video. Okay. And then after watching the video, the student can now proceed. And then another set of text that I will ask a student to read. And then here's another branching scenario, which basically ask him, so you've already identified your target audience, what do you need to do next? So supposing hindi pa rin niya alam and clicks on the wrong answer, so balik na naman siya sa simula. Or, as I said, you can actually determine which branch in the entire branching scenario do you want the student to return to, supposing he picks the wrong answer. So dito, basically, kinonfigure ka lang na back to scratch, no? Back to zero. Okay? So let's see hanggang makuha niya. No? And then proceed again and again. And so the next step that he needs to take is to, let's say, ano ba yung tama dito? Ito. Ayan. No? Now, as you can see here, this was the course presentation that we created yesterday. No? So what I've tried to do is you can actually import the content that you've created outside of this branching scenario, and you can put them in any of the H5P content that you've already created beforehand. You can import it into this branching scenario. So nandito, nakalagay, meron tayong mga formative assessment questions that student can use, no? And check themselves if they got it correctly, no? And then at the end of it, you can ask the student to retry again and so on and so forth. So pagkatapos yan, kung kunyari tapos na, kunyari if a student is able to successfully complete the scenarios, no, you can assign a score if he's able to, pick the right path towards the lesson that you want him to take. Then this score will automatically be assigned to the student's gradebook, and you'll be able to see that score as well. Now, the thing about this branching scenario is the student is given the chance to review, and explore the other branching scenarios. So at least he gets a concrete sense of, if I chose this other option, ano bang lalabas doon, and so on and so forth. So ito po yung sample na gagawin natin. One of its practical use is, yun nga, parang halimbawa, di ba, if you want to teach a certain skill, let's say, kunyari magkakaroon ka ng, let's say sa nursing, kunyari may patient visit ka na mangyari, you can actually record videos beforehand, tapos yung videos mo would be the results of your branching scenarios, no? Kunyari may interviewin ka, tapos may tanong doon, no? How are you going to respond to the patient's answers, no? And then depending on the answer that you give, the student will be taken to the next video, which shows the outcome if he chooses this particular answer. So, once again, parang this tool can, can evoke and perhaps elicit your creativity in terms of imagining parang what else you can do, especially if you're using this. If you're teaching, for example, languages, this is also a good way, no, to shape parang how conversations are going to unfold, no, given certain responses that a student may choose, no, and then you will see parang certain outcomes. Ang kailangan lang kasi dito sa branching scenarios, kailangan talaga naka-plan out beforehand kung ano yung ano mo, ano yung mga gusto mong gawin, no? Ano yung mga outcomes na ano na posible doon given the questions that you proposed and given the answers that you are looking for, no? So, yun siguro ang the initial preparation that you need to do in order to create and make use of this particular tool. Okay. So at this point, let's try to create a simple branching scenario. No? Once again, we want to turn our editing on. Okay. And then let's add an activity or resource. Okay. At this point, let's pick this yung H5P na interactive content. Okay. And then there's the editor window again. Ang hanapin natin yung branching scenario. So as you can see, it is still in beta mode. There's much to be desired in terms of its functionality, but nonetheless, parang it's already functional as it is. So if you want to learn more about it, just click on details. And then here's a description that's provided by H5P. So it says, branching scenario allows authors to present the learners with a variety of rich interactive content and choices. The choices the learners make will determine the next content they see. It may be used to create dilemmas, serious games, and self-paced learning. So these are some of the possibilities of using this branching scenario. So right now, let's try to use it. Click on use. Okay. So this is the interface for creating a branching scenario. As you can see, it looks very different from the typical H5P interface that you've already explored in the past 3 sessions that we had. To facilitate the easier creation of branching scenarios, I would suggest that we make it full well, siguro in your case parang mahirap i-full screen because it will cover the video. But supposing you'll be working on your own, just to make it full screen para mas madaling makita. So the first thing here is to provide a title for your branching scenario. So in this case, parang as I said, I will just simulate yung kwan kanina. I will entitle it, kunyari, how to do ethnographic interviews. Okay, so that's going to be my title. And then as you can see on the left side, these are some of the tabs, command tabs available for branching scenarios. So here, this tab with the pencil icon looks at the info content, no? Basically, the content that you could click and drag to create your branching scenarios, no? Ito po yung course presentation, pwede. No? Text, image hotspots. Yung image hotspots are areas wherein may image ka, tapos if they click on a certain section of that image, then they'll be taken, for example, to another scenario. You have there the interactive video and of course the video. Now, the key content here that really makes this branching scenario work would be the branching questions, and we will explore that in a while. And then itong reuse content is for the times when you would have to place into your branching scenario yung the content that you've already created beforehand. So you can import them and place them here as well. The next tab is the settings tab. No? As you can see, you can configure what the starting screen will look like. In this case, you can create a title for this, no? Halimbawa, gawin ko lang ethnographic interviewing or interviews, no? And then I could put in details. This is a simulation exercise in conducting ethno interviews. Okay. So, this will appear doon po sa beginning ng branching scenario, no? And then of course I could add a course image, no? Once again, the images here are ways to help you make your course more siguro appealing in that sense, no? So let's try to put in, for example, just a sample course image, no? Okay, I'll pick on downloads. Okay, saan na ba yung downloads ko? Okay, wala dito. Okay, quick access. Okay. Okay, let's pick it here. So, kunyari, yan yung picture ko, no? And then I could also configure the end scenario screen of the entire exercise. So I can say, let's say, congratulations. And then I could put in a text here. You were able to follow the steps correctly. And then I could add another image, no? Like so. Okay. Ayan, kunyari, yan yung image ko. And branching scenarios allow you to provide some options in terms of scoring, how students will fare in answering this branching scenario. You could choose na walang scoring, or you can dynamically calculate score from the user's answers. Or basically the most simple is just to, provide a score, no? At the end of every scenarios, no? Kung kunyari yun yung pinili nila. So in this case, if they get it correctly, since this will be the ending default scenario screen, okay, they will get, for example, just a total of 5 points just for getting it. No? So now the next tab is the translations tab. No? Kung naman yan, wala naman masyadong nito unless you want to translate some of the text that you have here. Now here's a tutorial that you can actually follow if you're a bit confused in terms of how to do it. And then metadata, yan, medyo hindi na kailangan galawin yan. Okay, so let's go back to info content. This editing icon here, the pencil icon, allows us to edit and create content already. So the first thing that we need to do is, kunyari, at the beginning of it, you'd like to provide a text, no? Basically telling students what this is going to be all about. No? So in the text, you can type your text here. Huh? So in this case, katulad sabi ko kanina, I'd like to provide students with basic information about what this is. No? So lagyan ko halimbawa ng something that they could read as they start this particular branching exercise. No? Gawin ko siyang mas malaki na heading. Okay. And then I'll click on done. So this is what they will see at the start of it all. Okay. So back to edit. And then after that, now after reading this, probably let me start by providing halimbawa a branching question. So kunyari dito, ang gawin ko lang, I will click and drag it here, dito sa my plus sign. And this is where the branching question begins. No? Lagyan ko lang siya ng archiving index. No? Lagay ko lang ganyan. And then I will place the question here. No? In this case, halimbawa, instead of yung kanina, parang look at the steps. Kunyari, ang lagay ko, what do you need to know? What do you need to know first? And then I could put in the options, no? Okay. Let's say I can put in here. That's the first option that I have. Second option that I have is this. Third option, and then I'll add another alternative. Third option is this. Okay. And then the fourth option is this. And then fifth option is this. Okay. So now that I've done it, I have to click done. Now notice what happens in this overall scenario. So first, there is an explanation of what this is all about. Okay. And then the next one is the question. No? This is what's going to appear. No? So what do you need to know first? Okay. So pwede nating gawin dyan. Pwede kong gawin na isa lang yung tamang answer. Pwede ding sabihin ko na this is really an open-ended branching scenario na kung saan they can take a look at what each step is all about. No? So ibig sabihin hindi muna siya mag-i-end, but rather it will just provide a brief explanation depending on what the student wants to know first. Okay, so I'll just go back. Or maybe let me rephrase the question. What do you need to know? Okay, yan na lang. So for this one, okay, these are the scenarios that are available to this particular branching question. So after this, pwede ako maglagay ulit ng, let's say, text or course presentation or image, no, or even a video, no, to basically give the outcomes of whether they chose this one or this next one or this third one, this fourth one, or this fifth one. So in this case, text lang muna ilagay ko. Ito ko ilagay. And then the text that I will have here is kung na lang siguro parang an explanation, for example. Explanation of option 1. Ayan na lang. So I'm just showing that as an example. And then if they choose option 2, I'll just click and drag it here. And then I place, for example, explanation of option 2. So again, it's up to you. You can put in text or you can choose an image there. And then let me just fill this up. Another text to explain option 3. Explanation of option 3. Okay, and then another explanation for option 4. Explanation for option 4. And then, saan yung isa? Pinulang na. Okay. And then click and drag. Explanation for option 5. Okay, so if I want to check what this will look like, okay, what we have right now, no, i-try ko po i-preview siya. So the preview is on the upper portion of your screen. So preview ko. So ito na po yung ano natin, opening image na pinili natin kanina. This was the title that we said, that we typed in, and this was the description of the title. So if I start the course, there is the text basically talking about two main ideas. And then what students need to do is just to click proceed and lumabas na yung branching question. As I said, depending on the branching question, you could decide na i-going end of the scenario na agad, or you might want it to still continue. No? So it's all up to you. So let's say ito munang pinili ko, and therefore lalabas dito yung explanation of option 3. No? And then proceed. Since wala nang magsunod nun, it automatically ends. But that's not what we want to do right now. Gusto pa natin gawing mas elaborate yung branching scenarios. So let's go back to edit. Now, so after this one, what we want to do right now is to determine, depende sa anong pinili nila, for the student to ascertain, given the different explanations here, kung ano ang next, ano dapat ang first step that they have to take. So I will choose branching scenario. I will leave it here, no? And then I will say BQ2. And then ang question ko, after reading this information, should this be the first step that you should be taking in conducting an interview? So, dalawa lang ang aking kwan dyan, yes or no. I click and done. Okay. So, I copy this. And then, yung nakopy ko will show up here sa reuse content, so that all I have to do is click it here para mas madali pag-copy. Click it here. Click done. Click and drag here. So it's just the same content, and click and drag here. So, dito po, kanina, di ba, pipili sila para tingnan lang nila kung ano yung explanation for each of these options. But the next branching question is for them to determine which of this, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, is the first step, should be the first step that they should take. So clearly, dito po sa ating kwan, ang correct answer dapat itong define target interviewee audience. So what we will do is, after this scenario, gawin ko na if they click, let's pick scenario 1. If they click no, okay, if they click no, what will happen is, sabihin natin, ipabalik natin siya to another branch in the scenario. No? So, pabalikin ko siya halimbawa doon sa explanation of option 1. Okay. And then I just click okay. Now, pwede ko ring sabihin custom end scenario, parang game over na kaagad, no? Pero ito, ang gusto ko lang balik siya doon sa explanation para malaman niya. Or doon na lang sa what do you need to know una. Doon ko siya ipabalik, no? So that's the icon. Ibig sabihin, balik mo lang siya dito sa branch na to. Now, as for the other options, pag yes ang pinili nila, okay? Okay, so let's pick this. Pag yes ang pinili nila, should this be the first step? If they choose yes, gusto ko sabihin na mali yun. No? And I will end the scenario immediately. And then I will space, sorry, okay, you got it in, sorry, yan na kunyari ang title. Then I will say, you got this, you got it incorrectly. Now, I can choose to add a custom end scenario. Let's say, let me just add a scenario here. Okay, so yan. Okay, and then if they answered no, ang gawin ko, na ibig sabihin tama pag no ang sinabi nila, ilalagay ko siya doon sa branch na, let's say, dito ulit. So, what do you need to know? Okay, balik siya doon. Okay. Now, I can decide to choose to give further feedback for the student, supposing yun yung pinili niya. But that's up to you if you want to provide that further feedback. So for now, I'll just click this done. So notice, ito po, redirects the person back to this, yung icon na yan. Pag may flag siya na red, ibig sabihin, mag-i-end na ang scenario pag yan ang pinili na question. Okay. So let me repeat these settings for the rest of the options. So, yes. Natin ulit. Pag yes, I will redirect, jump to another branch, tapos piliin ko yung branch kung saan siya magja-jump. So, dito sa first branch. And then, pag no ang sagot, ay sorry, pag no pa lang sagot, custom end scenario. And then, I'll just place the image, for example. And, sorry, so depende na sa'yo kung anong ilagay mo dyan. And then here, I will say jump to another branch. Tapos lagay ko doon sa what you need to know, the branching question. Okay. Now, if they chose this incorrectly, yung custom end scenario, you have an option to give partial points, for example, to a student. No? Supposing at this point, parang first branching sila mali kagad, parang I don't think I want to give partial points, so I just give it a 0. Okay. So balik po tayo dito, yung fourth option natin. Once again, if the answer is yes, we will say custom end scenario kasi mali yun. And then I'll add again an image para lang an indicator na mali. And then I'll just say sorry. And then I'll assign a score of 0. If the answer is no, okay, I will jump to another branch and then lead it back to first branching question. Okay, so tapusin ko na lang po itong option 5. No? Same din, notice, end scenario, pag yes ang pinili. So in this case, I will say branching options, custom end scenario. Let me customize it by adding an image. Okay, and say, sorry. And then give a score of 0. If it's a no, I will say jump to another branch and I will pick the branch where the student will jump. So balik siya lang dun sa what you need to know. And then click done. So notice we've already have 2 layers of branching questions. And after the first layer of branching questions, ito medyo pag mali ang pinili nila, sudden death na kaagad. Pero kung tama ang pinili nila, partially correct pala, I mean, they'll be redirected here again until makuha nila itong tamang sagot na to. Now, supposing they're able to pick this, no, and answer yes, no. Now, what I want to do is to affirm this by providing additional content. So, in this case, the interview video that I'd like to give, for example, I'd say interview audience. Let's say magkuha na lang po ako ng isang video lang. Interview target audience. Okay. Okay, let's say this is the. Okay. So I will place a YouTube link here. Na dito ito bali yung magiging video niya. Target audience video. Insert. Okay. And then I will click done. Now, if you want to take a look at how this looks like, we could choose preview. So this is the beginning. Sorry. Okay. This is the beginning. Okay. Once again, the student starts the course. Andito yung text kanina. They proceed. And then here's the first branching question. What do you need to know? Supposing ito yung gusto kong malaman muna. And then there's the explanation. And then I can click proceed. And then here's the second branching question. After reading this information, should this be the first step? So after reading it, for example, I say, no, this shouldn't be the first step. So I'm taken back to yung branching question na ni-redirect ko siya. So supposing ito naman clinic ko, then after reading the explanation, meron na namang akong branching question. Should this be the first step? Supposing I incorrectly misunderstand the explanation and pinili ko yes. Notice na ang sabi natin doon sa ating prenogram na pag yes ang pinili niya, automatic ma-end na yung scenario. So let's say I click on yes. So yan po, lumabas na yung ating end scenario. And the student would have to restart the course again. Okay, so restart na naman siya. No? And then supposing ito naman gusto niyang malaman, and after reading it, the student feels confident that this should be the first step. So I take, for example, I say yes. Okay, and it leads me to the video that I've inserted as the outcome of correctly choosing the scenario. So I could play this, and then makita ko na yung video niya. And then I click proceed. No, if there's no custom end scenario, kung kunyari tama lahat yun, it will naturally end and assign a score which you had already predetermined beforehand. So ibig sabihin, this is the score that he gets for successfully completing this branching scenario assignment. Okay. So ito lang po, this is actually a very brief and medyo fairly simple branching scenario that we've created. No, it can get more elaborate. It can become more elaborate depende on the complexity of the simulation that you want to do. So, ang kailangan lang ito, very clear lang and very logical yung pagtingin natin in terms of branching scenario, because it's just like parang any branching scenarios. Kailangan you can foresee outcomes and then just decide parang which choices will lead to favorable outcomes and which choices will lead to unfavorable outcomes. And therefore, you would have to teach students again to choose the options that will lead to favorable outcomes. So ito lang po yung example niyan. As I said, parang all the other things that you can do, if you want to add, let's say, dagdagan ko dito ng isa pang zoom to fit. Dagdagan ko pa dito, halimbawa, isang course presentation, pwede kong gawin yan. And I could build it here, no? Nakita na natin to sa ating ginawa yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah, it's yesterday. No? So we can create a course presentation here, or we can import something that we have already created beforehand. No? So, ayun po, no? That's basically, let me save this now. And after saving it, no, I will save and display. Okay. Ito natin save and display. So now it's ready for students to take. Tanan. And tak. No. Then no. Then no. So I'm taken back. Then let's say mali yung sagot ko. Balik ulit until I get it correctly. Okay, so that's the end of it. And then, yes, so with that, let me open the floor for questions po. There's a question from Anne. Father, pwede po ba na-graded ng responses ng students sa branching questions? Yes. In fact, yun what I showed you earlier, you can assign points doon sa branching scenario. So dito po, makita natin dito, scoring options. You can statically set score for each end scenario. Or you can, let's say, dynamically calculate score from user answers. So usually ito, parang this gives you the most, the greatest control over this branching scenario pag gawin mong statically set score for each end scenario. So depende sa pagpili po nila, then you can assign certain scores doon. And then it will automatically reflect in their gradebook po. So I hope I was able to answer that question. Yeah. Sige po. Any other questions regarding branching scenarios? So, kuwan na po, it can really grow very big, especially if you have more complex scenarios. No? Maganda lang to keep track on it on a piece of paper para alam mo how it's going to proceed. I'll show you a sample of it, another sample. My safe browser option po na feature under H5P. Excel, wala pong safe browser ang H5P because what it's meant to do is really parang for formative assessments lang talaga siya. Hindi talaga siya yung mga high stakes ng na assessments. So unfortunately, parang you can't have a safe browser option kasi those are reserved for really yung mga quiz or exam questions.
Pero Father, wala pang ibalik ang SEB. Wala pa, no?
Wala pa na mo nakuan.
Okay.
Balik ni Father Charlie. Oo. So nandun po yung let me just look for a demo of it. Ito po, this is an example of yung what it can do. So it's a simulation game. So start the game, and then ito from School of Nursing. Tapos review the client information. Pwede siya niyan, ayan, pwede ka. Actually, this is just created na parang graphics file. So parang may folder ka nung client. Then after that, you can create videos na parang, alam mo yun, parang first-person perspective na videos. And then, kunyari, ayan, tignan natin. Tapos pag at the end of this video, nagnanak siya, and then there's the question, no? How do you introduce yourself to the client? Refer to an arranged appointment, express concern. So supposing, ito yung pinili ko. Okay. So, ayan, pwedeng incorrect response, no? So, pwedeng, proceed. So, balik ka na naman. So, how do you introduce yourself to the client? So, maybe this is the correct one. Okay. Not the best response either. No? Hindi ko alam anong kwan. Refer to mental health assessment. Okay. Okay, mali yata yung aking entrada. So anyway, as you can see here, no, you could basically decide kung anong scenarios ang gusto mong piliin dyan, no? And it can play, for example, a series of videos if you've correctly choose the option, if you've already correctly chose the option for it. Pwede din siya parang katulad nito, parang virtual tour, no? Ayan, ito yung course presentation, nakapasok dyan. And then a set of questions. And then like that. And then if you want to explore certain art periods, pwede. Okay. And then, depende. So, parang it makes for a more customized learning experience if that's the kind of content delivery that you'd want to provide. Ito po yung example ng image hotspot na sinasabi natin. They click on this image and then it greater detail pops out from it. No? So, they click on it. And then yan, you can provide additional information to those images. Click on it. Ayan. Click. Ayan. Then you can choose next. And then what you want to know next. You want to learn about another art period. So balik na naman siya sa dating option. And then here's an option. Okay. And then if you want to finish the course, ayan, tapos na siya. And then student gets a score for finishing a particular course. So yun po yung basically what branching scenarios can do. So, may mga question po. Father, another one, for each branching scenario, should it be limited to one lesson? Hindi po. Pwede po siya, yung katulad kanina sa example ng mga arts, yung mga arts in Europe. No? Pwede ka mag-branch out actually into several topics. In fact, you can have one big branching scenario to allow students to explore several topics within that branching scenario. So it need not be limited to just one lesson or one topic or one concept po. Sir Joseph, find this helpful in doing a math formative activity, especially if it requires students to present step-by-step solutions. Yeah. Actually, pwede siya. You can use yung sa course presentation and then put your questions there. And then, depende sa sagot nila, then you can branch out parang how students are going to proceed sa next one, next scenario. Are there any questions po regarding this? Okay. So yeah, I guess much of it really is just a matter of exploration. Don't get intimidated by parang itong mga ano na to. Because parang I think the best attitude here is just to play around, no, and eventually see how you could use this. Sa aking klase po, ginagamit ko po siya para yung mga simulation ng kunyari when I want to teach a certain skill. So ginagawan ko po ng alternate outcomes. Katulad nung sa yung example kanina na may video. So at least that's the closest to the real thing that they could do. Okay, if there are no questions po, parang I'll end my session here, and hopefully you can still review this in our YouTube channel. And if you have other questions, just send us an email po, and hopefully we'll try to answer your concerns regarding these tutorials.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you po. Thank you.
Thank you, Father.
Thank you po. Okay. Good luck with your experimentation.
Review na lang kami, Father.
Ay,
Review.
Review po. Diyan na
Lisod
naman
po
po.
siya. Lisod pa. Sige, thank you. At
Sige
least
po.
nalay idea, Father.
Opo,
Bye-bye.
opo. Sige po. Bye-bye. Salamat. Thank you po. Thank you po, sir.